Hey guys, I wanted to make a quick video here for you because I got a number of people send me remind messages yesterday about asking some questions, and I thought, well, chances are you're not alone, or they weren't alone in their questions. So I thought, let me go ahead and just make a quick video um, and share it out with you guys, figuring that might be the fastest, easiest way of kind of giving you the help that you need. So I just want to kind of go over some, quick tips, stuff like that so that you guys can feel comfortable in what you're doing and you can feel successful in what you're doing and not kind of like, overthinking it or underthinking it or whatever. All right. So, what I want to talk about really quickly is a couple different things. All right. So, first thing, kind of the structure of the response. I think that's probably where a lot of us are kind of caught up, right? And after looking at the quick check for understandings and the kind of the Crane, not Crane, the Howard Zinn response sheet. I got an idea that maybe we need this help. So when we're writing one of these, especially a short response one, um, as you can see, I've kind of got what the sentences should be, right? So the first sentence should obviously be your thesis or your claim. Always start with that. And it really should just be your first sentence, right? It shouldn't be two or three. And we'll talk more about that in a second. All right. So then what do you write after that? Well, the next thing you want to do is you want to provide your first piece of specific evidence, right? So in the case of what we're writing, that would be some event from the American Revolution that connects back to what you're making your argument or your claim about, right? Now, in terms of how much you want to talk about it, in minimum one sentence, but the reality is I kind of figured for you probably have to introduce the event and then have another sentence explaining what happened. Now, we'll talk again more specific what you should be talking about. Then your fourth sentence should really be where you are doing your reasoning, right? Explaining how your evidence is proving your claim. All right. Again, I have it as one sentence that could be two. All right. All right. So then you've done your first event, right? Now you got to do the second event. And so you need to, there's a whole bunch of different ways to do this. Like you can throw in a word like furthermore or also or in addition to, and then start talking about the second event, right? Give that kind of segue, that kind of moving on statement that lets know, okay, we're on to something else. All right, again, explain it. All right. And again, I would expect at least one, more likely two sentences explaining the event. And then finally, you're going to connect it back to your claim. So again, the idea, if you're looking at this, like you're looking at what? At minimum, if you're doing somehow really very good with your words, seven sentences for your response. I would probably expect more in that nine range if you're doing it well. All right. So if you've written yours and yours is like five, chances are you skipped something in the process that needs to be addressed. All right. So let's talk about each individual thing so that we can feel more comfortable there. And the one question that kept coming up is on your thesis or your claim statement, right? Remember a couple the big things first. Remember, you want to introduce the topic. In this case, you're talking about both Britain's theory and the American Revolution. Someplace in your claim or thesis statement, you should be making clear references to them. All right. Keep it a single sentence. It might be a longer single sentence. Shouldn't be a run-on, but you can definitely do all this in one sentence. Again, it's just going to be a little bit longer. All right. So the thing that's coming up the most from kids is, do I literally quote Britain's theory in my claim or thesis statement? And my answer to that is you shouldn't do that. And here's the reason why, right? One, that is going to make that sentence forever and long, and it'll be wordy. So what I recommend doing is kind of taking the idea of Britain's theory, I'll move my picture over here, and simplifying it, right? So that way, you're basically, remember how you already did this? You already took the theory, you put it in your own words and something that's simpler and easier to understand. So go look at what you wrote on that sheet of paper and see if you feel like it's short enough or if you can get it even smaller. All right. And then the last thing in your thesis or claim is make sure you're providing two reasons, right? Think the two events. All right. So here's an example on the bottom of your page. All right, the American Revolution proves Britain's theory that revolutions are caused by large controlling forces because. So, like, that's not the whole thesis. Obviously, I'd give because would be then events this and this. But I took Britain's theory, right? I took that one that talks about how government, society, religion, economy, all that is I took all that and shrunk it down. All right. And then I made sure to introduce the American Revolution as the topic. So you can do that, right? And so honestly, that sentence there isn't that long, even if you do add on like the Stamp Act and the Proclamation Act. That's it. Thesis statement. You're good to go. So the thing I'm stressing here is this, and that's why I have it in bold. Try to take Britton's theory and shrink it down as much as possible into something simple and digestible. All right, next thing. All right, let's see. All right, evidence. All right, so one of the things I want to be very clear about here, right? We kind of went over this. You should be picking two events, right? That should, I think I made that clear. All right, but here's the thing. These events are not always that simple. Sometimes they're a little complex. Sometimes they're a little bit complicated, and they have multiple parts to them. So the thing I'm stressing to you is this, right? Make sure that when you do cite the evidence or you talk about the event, that whatever you're specifically citing as evidence is directly related to the claim, right? Just because you explain what the Stamp Act is, but if what you say about it doesn't connect to, let's say again, going back to the example I gave you, people being held down by large forces, then that isn't really very valuable evidence, right? It's a random fact that does not help you. All right. So when you're giving evidence, you probably need to introduce it and explain what happened in terms of connecting to your thesis. All right. Now, here's an example. The Proclamation Act was issued by the British government and told colonists they could not settle in the Ohio River Valley. It was designed to prevent colonists from getting into conflicts from Native Americans. So here's the deal. Like I explained what it is and I gave a little bit of background. If I'm trying to make the argument that there's large forces, right, controlling people's lives, the fact that I talked about the British government and what specifically they did means I should then be able to, in my reasoning section, connect it back to that. All right. So again, if you're giving the evidence has to somehow relate to your claim. If it doesn't, then that's you either need to find a different event or pick the specific nugget, if you will, from that event. All right, last bit. All right, the reasoning. This is the hard part. All right, so the point of the reasoning is that you're connecting back to your claim. You have to do that. All right, so one of the tips I kind of think is really helpful is this. If you use the word controlling or large or overbearing or whatever it is, right? Like if there's a term you're using in your claim, all right, that is supposed to really explain the theory from Britton, then try to use that word or some synonym of that word, right? Something similar. So that when you're doing your reasoning, it is very clearly and obviously going back to your claim. All right. Um, the other thing you want to do when you're giving your reasoning, right? Do some type of expression that like clearly connects it back, right? So I gave you a bunch. This illustrates, this demonstrates, this shows. So literally, you give your evidence and maybe use an expression like that as in the beginning of the next sentence, so that I know that you're now telling me what the evidence shows, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Now, if you're the thing I'm and again, I wouldn't be mad about it, but we want to get away from doing it. Um, Saying like this proves my claim or this shows my thesis is true. We try not to say things like that, right? Try to say things like this illustrates, this demonstrates, this shows, because as a reader, I will know that's what you really mean, right? All right. And so here's an example again. The Proclamation Act clearly shows the Britain's theory is accurate because it put strict controls on the colonists and limited their ability to settle land they won during the French and Indian War. All right, so like as a reasoning, I am connecting it back to that original claim I made. I am making sure I'm mentioning the evidence, and I'm trying my best in a very short little sentence, all right, to show why I'm right, right? You might need a second sentence. That's okay. Cool. I'm fine with that. But you definitely need to make an effort where you're tying it back. All right. I hope this was helpful. This slideshow that I am using right now is posted on Canvas for you. I posted it right underneath where we talked about the quick write. So I think I literally called it writing tips slideshow, something like that. Whatever day 13, day 14, whatever day it was, it's there. I promise you. So anyway, hope this helps. Good luck. If you've already turned it in, let me say this. If you've already turned it in, don't stress. Remember, you turned it in through Google, meaning you still control the rights to access and edit it. So if you're looking at this and going, I didn't do that. I gotta fix that. Fix it. It's not due till midnight. So you still have like plenty of time to make a change and make sure you're good. So please take the time, make these changes, and I think you'll be much happier with your score. And hopefully this made some sense. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your day off.